welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new. So it's about time I did a bit of Christmas decorating. However, I have to be completely honest and a little bit blunt, but I don't have the same enthusiasm this year as I would in previous. My regular viewers will know that sadly my mum passed away in late summer. So this Christmas it's going to be myself and my family's first Christmas without her here. I think one of the reasons why I have been putting off Christmas decorating is because it definitely makes it more real. So I decided to do something a little bit different and have a nice creative distraction. I still like the cozy feeling of decorating and having all the decorations up, but I'm not going to be as, how would you say, extravagant this year. I've decided to do a foraged mantelpiece in today's video, and I'm going to be using stuff from the garden because it's, I don't know, it's a nice distraction. I do have a good old plastic garland in the attic, but I don't want to go up there. Something that I have an absolute abundance of in the garden is ivy, and there is loads of ivy berries on it as well. So this is Irish ivy, and around about the end of October, coming into early November, the honeybees actually love to forage this, and you can actually get some ivy honey. If you saw my garden video on Sunday, I did mention in that particular video that it was mild. However, the weather quickly changed cooler after that, so the bees are now huddled and hibernating, so I can take some of their berries to use in my forage display. I didn't have to take too much to make a lovely display, which you will see later in the video. For my display, I needed some chicken wire, which is very random. I popped into Woody's and I did have a little look in the Christmas section because I do have a bit of a Christmas tree dilemma, which I'll explain at the end of the video. So I had a mooch and I wasn't sure if I was going to get some chicken wire because I did check out in the garden centre section, couldn't find anything, but just inside the door I found loads of mesh netting and I managed to find some chicken wire. If you want to do a mantle display like I'm doing with some foraged and fresh materials, then you will need some chicken wire or sturdy wire for this project. Depending on where you live, you may actually be able to get some scrap pieces of chicken wire and you could save a few pennies that way. And the great thing is we can reuse the chicken wire over and over, so if you want to do a spring mantle or a different style later in the season, you can reuse your chicken wire. Now, right beside the Woodies is a TK Maxx, and while I have had a recent enough potter in HomeSense, it has been absolutely months since I went into TK Maxx, and I wanted to have I wanted to get some more pillar candle holders, which they didn't have any. So I ended up just having a little look to see what was in the Christmas home decor section. There wasn't actually a lot. I noticed a bit of a themey kind of thing. There was pink and pastel coloured reindeers, which I think is really pretty, but there was nothing really tickled my fancy. Randomly, I did see a lot of gifty things. So there was these beautiful soaps that I have seen when I've been in France and Portugal, and they had similar ones in TK Maxx. And there's something about a nice soap in a cute package that catches my eye. Now I kind of regret not picking them up, but I did see a little series of books. There was the Jane Austen series and they were €20 for the whole set, and I put them back because I was like, this could be a present from me to me. For some reason I didn't. I resisted temptation and I kind of regret it now. Now, you might be wondering why ivy. So here's my phone. Does anyone else follow Rosie Henshaw? I love her. I think Rosie Henshaw Home might be her YouTube channel. I do follow her on Instagram, but I haven't been on Instagram in ages. But I was watching her YouTube videos and I noticed that she has, I don't know if you've seen the trend. It's like, I think it's dried hops and it's a wreath or a garland on the mantelpiece or I've seen it on people's cooker hoods, and I was like, ooh, what is that? And I had a little Google, and I think what it is dried hops or fresh hops used as a wreath. So I did a bit of Googling to see if there was anybody in Ireland selling dried hops. And of course, you can buy dried hops, but it's for like at-home breweries and like make your own alcohol, of course, because it's Ireland. But I did come across, this is where I got the idea. I came across this website, the Foliage Florist, and they sell foliage for like garlands, wreaths and displays. And one of them was ivy. So there's a Irish berried ivy garland and table centre, €85. Now obviously, I mean it's fresh, but I was like, I can make that pretty much for free with chicken wire because I have loads of this in the garden. So €85 for an Irish berry garland, Irish berry ivy garland. I have that in abundance. There's also, there was a traditional Irish fir and cypress wreath that was from €95. Irish pine and cypress garland. So I was looking for ideas on what could I forage. But the reason why I like the ivy one is because it kind of looks like that hop garland that I've seen on a couple of like interior people that I follow. I don't know if you also follow Lydia Millen. In her vlogs, in her kitchen, there looks like there is one of those garlands above her cooker hood, and it looks like really thick, and again that looks like it's dried hops. So I can't get my hand on any dried hops. Well, I'm sure if I really dug, I did stumble across a place up in Wicklow, another kind of forestry farm selling foliage place, but oh, eucalyptus would be beautiful. But let's go with free nan. And also I have an abundance of that this year. There's some growing in my neighbour's wild over a fence thing, and I can take from that as well. So there's loads of it this year. And it's also past the point when the bees would forage. So honeybees love ivy, so they would forage that. But it's past the kind of point, it's gone cold now, where they would come out and forage it. Yeah, it's kind of, the bees are kind of done with it. So, and also I'm not taking loads. So I had to go and get some chicken wire, but I got a green chicken wire, so hopefully it will help me disguise any of the things. So I just got it in the garden centre. I'm sure I could have tried to get some of this off someone I know, which would have saved me having to buy it, but who knows? I'll always need like a bit of chicken wire, but I'm gonna have to cut this because I only need a strip for here. So let me turn this. My mic might go, but I have a nail hole from last year because I always nail in a support when I do it, even if it's a fake wreath. So that's what I'm gonna do with this, so that this is secured to the mantle. So I have a little hole that I use every year so that it doesn't fall into the fire or go on fire. And what I love about this is when I'm done with it, it goes straight into the compost. Don't even have to store it, just in the compost you go. And if it starts to go, if it dries out too soon or if it goes a bit crappy, I can just take some more from the wall outside. I have an abundant supply. I can just top it up. Okay, let's get creating. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on some gloves and I'm going to cut the chicken wire to size. I'm just using a snippy thing. I'm sure that's the correct DIY term. And I'm just going to take my time to cut this. I'm also wearing gloves because sometimes the edges can be a bit sharp, but you can fold these in so they're not as pointy. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, why chicken wire? Can I use something else? So when it comes to the mantelpiece, I light my fire and I'm always afraid of things falling in. So that's why I try to secure things as solid as I can. If you have done any garland, you'll know that they can have a bit of weight to them. In the past, I have used this thing called nano tape gel. You might see this in the DIY shops. It'll probably be near the decorations this time of year. It's like a reusable gel tape, and that is pretty strong. I'm gonna go with the chicken wire for this one, and this is great because I don't have to use any other florist wire. So because there's loads of little holes, I can weave the foliage into this, and I don't have to use any glues, no glue gun, no wires. So when I want to dismantle this, I can just pull all the foliage out of the wire, pop it into the compost, and I can reuse the chicken wire. Now I am quite lucky because I do have a wooden mantelpiece. So I am able to screw into this and then add my chicken wire, and it is really solid. If you have a marble mantelpiece, you won't be able to drill into it, and I don't recommend drilling into it. So maybe you could use something like command hooks. Some command hooks I find are not as strong, but if you have a solution for anybody who doesn't have a wooden mantelpiece or doesn't want to drill into it, then please leave your suggestions in the comment section for the community and share amongst yourself. So if you have tried a different way to stick the garland up without having to, drill in, please let people know in the comment section. So ivy can get a bit of a bad reputation, and obviously there's going to be different variants. So the one that I'm using is the native Irish one. I believe the Latin name is Hedera hibernica. So some of the benefits are it is evergreen, so it gives homes for all our little pollinator pals during the winter. Flowers around late autumn, and the honeybee will forage it, but also butterflies, and the birds will also feed off the berries. Although I did read somewhere that the berries are not as tasty, which is why they kind of leave them to last. So you'll see birds foraging it around February time when there's not as many berries. I don't know how true that is, but I did read that somewhere. Every now and again, I do have to come in and give it a little bit of trimming and control, because what can happen is I find it gets a bit woody. Obviously, if you don't control it, it can be a bit pesky. Certain types of ivy can damage the structure as well of a building if it does get into it, but not all of it. So in the past, I have given out about the ivy because it has gone overgrown in certain areas. However, I don't want to get rid of it completely because, well, we're making a lovely wreath out of it. But I do notice that in my garden, year on year, my goal is to try and get more bugs into it. I also have loads of birds that visit, and I do think that they're the ones keeping my slugs under control. This time of year, you'll probably see more of it because with the trees losing their leaves, you'll see the ivy crawling up it. It has been known that ivy can, take down a weak tree. I think everything in nature has its benefits, and then it also can become a pest when things are out of balance. So I don't mind it once it's in balance with everything else. When it comes to putting my garland together, it's really simple. I first went in with what I suppose call the base layer. So the older wiry pieces of foliage. And because this is a climber, I found the stems lovely and bendy, like they don't break easy. So I could intertwine them through the chicken wire really, really easily. Then once I had a good base, my goal is to cover any of the chicken wire, and I was very happy that I picked the green color because it just blends in with the foliage. I'm also just getting a nice shape, so a slight dip in the center, and I just didn't want any areas that were too gappy. So nice, full and balanced. And then I went in with the new foliage that has the dried flowers and berries on top, and I am just sticking them in with there's no science to this. Well, I have no formula for this, but I am just sticking them in where there is gaps and then just trying to keep it nice and balanced. You can start in the center and work your way out, but I just try and keep the right hand side and the left hand side as symmetrical as I can. So if it's your first time and it feels halfway through you're like, oh no, this doesn't look good, what's wrong? Try to make it symmetrical. I suppose that's a formula for you there. If the left side is looking a bit bare, give it some more foliage, and then just keep going until you get to a point where you're nice and satisfied. A little tip that I find is helpful whenever you're doing a display, especially like a mantelpiece or something like that. I find if you take a picture of your display, like as you're going, or even just look through your camera lens, you can see clearly. I don't know why it helps, but I think on my camera phone as well, there's like a, not a spirit level, but there's a grid on the picture thing, so you can see. I don't know, it's good when you step back with the phone and you can see if there's any gaps. Obviously you can see it with your eye, but there's something about looking through a different lens or something, seeing it through a different lens. Philosophical. Because as I was doing it, I was like, I'm a bit too light here. So it's starting to just fill up and I'm quite happy with it, but I'm going to stick in the last few foliage pieces that I have because I don't want to put them in the compost. While I have them, I may as well use them. I'm really impressed with how little I had to forage to make a nice display. Like I only took, like, well, you saw how much I took. It wasn't an awful lot to get, you know. So if you were doing this as a table runner, the only thing what I will say is if you're doing this as a table runner, and my mind did go to that place was, what if there's spiders in here? But obviously as I sprayed it with the hose, more so just to keep it nice and moist and help it last longer. But there's no bugs in it. There's no bugs because obviously I'm going through every piece and I'm trimming it. Whether some spiders get into the house and nest in here, I don't know. But I suppose you have that risk with any garland. But yeah, it did cross my mind, and if you were the same, I don't blame you. I was like, what if there is someone living in here? So, no, just Santa's elves. I am looking for my nature creatures. So last year I remember getting some nature themed decorations, and this is a happy accident because I wasn't planning to put them with my garland, but I think it's gonna be perfect. So I'm just, also thank you January me for being kind to December me and putting things in a clear box so I can see it. So yes, I've got nature. I've also got these mushrooms, cute, and I've got Christmas trees. I also have a wreath I made that still looks like in perfect condition. It's all got dried oranges and stuff on it, but it looks like I could just put it straight up. So yeah, I've got these leaf things. Another tree, more mushrooms. Well, there's another little mushroom. I didn't realise I had all this, Miss Bug. I've got a little leaf. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go in again and see. Oh, there's another clear plastic box. So I'm going to check and see if I have any more. I need to turn the light on. So I need to make a decision about the Christmas tree. So last year, some of you may remember, the cats were kittens, and when the Christmas tree went up, they were roughly 5 months old. They tore the tree down. There was no Christmas tree on Christmas Day because I think I had put the tree up last week of November. It was only up 2 weeks and it was tore down about 3 or 4 times and they were starting to damage it. So I said, I'm gonna pack this tree up, we're done. And I remember it was like the week before Christmas and I was like, I can't keep fixing this. Every other day I was having to fix the wobbles and everything anyway. And I was fine with a mantle and the other decorations. So this year, the kittens are now a year and a little bit. So I think they were born in August. I adopted them in October. So a year and a bit. They have calmed down a teeny tiny bit because they now climb the tree in the garden. But their climbing skills are now amazing. So I don't know if they're going to tear down a Christmas tree in here. I think they may. And Bon, I don't know if you've seen Bon, he is chunky. He is 10 pound. So, well, according to I got them a robot toilet cleaner thing and it weighs them. And Bon is 10 pound. He was 9.6 or something. And Bjug is 7 pound, 7.5 pound. So that's a good like 20 pound gonna tear down the tree. I was thinking as well I could anchor it into the ceiling with a hook, but then the weight of Bon, and if he does climb it, I don't want him to tear the ceiling out of it. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I know a couple of you last year when I said it, I think I had said it on Instagram about the Christmas tree situation, and a lot of you that had cats especially said that sometimes you give up on the tree for that same reason. The tree normally goes over here by the window. I did feel like last year my tree was a bit big for the space or something, or I don't know, I think it was feeling cluttered. When I was in Woody's getting chicken wire, I did see a little pencil tree, but the little pencil tree looked a bit sad. So they wouldn't be able to climb up the pencil tree if I was to get a pencil tree, but it did look a bit sad. Like, I think it would look perfect in a smaller space, but the space I have, I think it would look like this tiny little pencil tree in the bigger room. Another thing I have noticed and I have seen in some garden centres, I have seen Christmas trees in pots. I was thinking to myself, I wonder could you just get one of them? But it's where do you put it the rest of the year? I was like, do I have any space in the garden for a Christmas tree? Because they're evergreen, they are nice. But the only thing is, I think a Christmas tree can only last a couple of years in a pot before you have to put it into the ground. That was an option. I was like, what if I bought a Christmas tree? Because I don't think that would be harder for them to climb because it's all pine needly and stuff. So I have seen Christmas trees in pots and I was like, that's cool because you could just bring it in, put a skirt on it. I have a wicker basket thing. Put a plate, like a large plant dish thingy plate, so that you could water it. The only thing is obviously the heat, and then you're throwing it back out into the garden in January. I don't know, but that's an option. And then I have a Christmas tree that I would have to position for the rest of the year in the garden. I don't know. What do you guys do with your cats? Should I just risk it and risk it for the biscuit? Take a chance, if it comes down, it comes down. Will I get a real one in a pot? And then another concern is the smell of the nature. I don't want them to pee on it. Last year there was an incident. So yeah, unconditional love, isn't it? Pets and kids, I suppose, they teach you unconditional love because they absolutely are savages in your house, but you adore them while they're doing it. Anyway, I'll have to make a decision on that one. And soon, obviously, and soon. Before I sign off on this video, I just wanted to have a quick chat. And I just wanted to acknowledge that I know that this time of year is really difficult for people. Earlier in autumn, when I told you guys about my mum passing away, there was such an outpour of love and support. But also, from chatting to you guys, I know that a lot of people have gone through grief this year. For myself, I find Christmas can be one of the loneliest times, which is why I am avoiding the Hallmark movies this year. But I just wanted to say to give yourself grace. And if you don't want to put up decorations, because to be honest, I wasn't pushed, then give yourself permission to do whatever feels best for you and not everybody else. Give yourself all of the self-care this season. And if that means saying no to things or maybe saying yes to things you wouldn't normally do, then go with what feels good for you. And if you are a friend or you have a family member going through something this Christmas, I would just give the same advice. Let's just give each and ourselves some grace and some space. And the last thing I want to finish up on is it's very easy to make assumptions, especially nowadays with social media. So just because someone may be posting something, including this video, I am very private, so I'm not going to come on in every video and have a DMC, but don't make comparisons to others and be kind to yourself. So on that note, I'll see you in the next video.